Yo, what's good everybody? Thank you for coming and watching my video about the Bard here. I'm just going to be doing a quick video overview for my experience with the Bard in the pre-orders beta, and kind of got a little bit of, information for it. I'm not going to go in super deep, but I will be covering things like what their strengths are, what some of the cons are, which, quote-unquote cons, show off some of the spells, and also maybe give a few ideas of what I think are good combos with them. So basically, jumping straight into it, we've got the Bard class, and overall, we've got the Bard core strengths, which if you guys are a fan of Bard core, I am too. nothing like a good Bard core song on YouTube, but so kind of, there's too many to list is what it kind of comes down to, but they've got plate, I think is a big deal. Gives them access to a lot of gear slots, different types of gear. They've got, hastes for the group and slows for the enemy, which are both just huge in this game. On here, there's too many songs to list, but one of the big things I wanted to make a special note of was that the songs stack with a lot of other types of songs. So they have ways to give Bard mana regen that's on top of something like Clarity. So if you're running in a group setting, or even just running Enchanter and Bard for some reason, you'll be able to get a lot of mana regen. They have a lot of ways to give resists and stuff like that. The haste, I think they have a way to have their haste stack with other hastes, which getting haste kept isn't necessarily hard, but getting it easier is nice. It might open up gear options and things like that. So next up I put their really fast running, fastest class in the game, I believe. Once you get your instruments upgraded and stuff like that, super nice for running around. I forgot to put on here track. Goes hand in hand with running fast. They have tracking as well, so only them druids and rangers are going to have the track, and that's nice for when you're doing target farms on stuff. So last thing I wanted to list on basically for right here would be Denon's Desperate Dirge. I think that is worth mentioning above pretty much all the songs except for like Charm, so I wanted to mention Charm as well, and I'll go into that. But Denon's Desperate Dirge is just one of the reasons people specifically will play a Bard above and beyond all the other stuff in their toolkit. So, there's just 100 reasons to play Bard. They're super versatile, go with lots of different people, and but the Denon's Desperate Dirge is one that gets a lot of discussion. So on here I have their stances. You got the balanced, the evasive, and the offensive. So pretty nice. Evasive, I think, is huge. Gives you that 95%. I made a video on it the other day going over all of these, so you can reference that if you have questions about what they do. They've got the invaluable invocation, the inversion, overchannel, and recovery. So the only one I wanted to talk about specifically would be like invaluable, which lets them have a 100% chance to not interrupt a cast, so they can full sprint run and still get their cast off, which is kind of cool. I don't find myself kiting a lot in this game, but you never know, and then if you do, that's a pretty nice option. So that's kind of a nice little brief overview on the stage right now. So what I wanted to do next was actually dig into those spells that I mentioned here specifically. So let's go ahead and pop that up. So the spells I wanted to go over would be things like, this is off of the EQL wiki, which gives you kind of a pretty good idea. Again, things are subject to change in the live version. These are just my experiences with pre-order and what they are talking about now. So, without going into absolutely everything, they've got like attack speed buffs with some stats on top of that. Pretty nice. Good DOTs. They've got so many DOTs, and what's cool is they have the ability to do melodies as well as AAs for a pulse that lets their songs, up to 5 songs pulse every 5 seconds and it'll just apply them. So there's just so many different ways that you can play them. Those are really interesting, makes them a super versatile class. So things like a little rune here. This is their accelerating chorus, which makes everybody run hecka fast. So you upgrade your percussion instruments and just let you run faster than Sao, faster than all kinds of stuff. So really nice for that. Here is an AoE attack speed decrease, so slow in an AoE, really pretty handy. So you're not single target slowing everybody. If you have somebody else slowing the main target, you can be slowing all the off targets or whatever. But pretty much the biggest ones I wanted to point out would be their charm coming up here. That's their mez. Where's their charm? I might have just missed it a second ago, but Bewitching Aura right here. So at level 39, they get a charm up to level 51. Decreases their mana resist a little bit, it says, and then you can upgrade this to hit higher level monsters. So having a charm and mezzes and stuff like that on the bard is fantastic. And then coming up here in a second will be Denon's Desperate Dirge is the other one I kind of wanted to highlight here. So there we go. That's the point blank AoE one, so maybe I missed the Dirge. But basically Denon's Dirge will do like an 800 mana nuke AoE that people were beefing up with. Yep, sorry, I just must have gone right over it. So the AoE direct damage, 800 mana, pretty big damage. So when you compare this, there's no cooldown to it. So it's you can reuse it as fast as you want, 3-second cast time, and then when you upgrade your horn, oh, it says singing damage. So your singing damage, you can increase the damage of that further, and it'll crit. And leveling it up does not decrease the mana cost. So that is one of the downsides to it, is it will absolutely drain your mana. But I've heard reports of people hitting up to 7,000 damage with this spell, single target. So, being able to hit hard for your mana is nice, even if it's not as necessarily efficient as maybe like Wizard AoE nukes. The fact is, if you're doing tons of damage, and you're burning the mana, well, as long as what you are burning dies, you're probably pretty happy with that. So Denon's Desperate Dirge here at 43, huge spell, wonderful addition to a lot of different things on top of everything else that they're going to get in their toolkit. I really like it. Next, I wanted to kind of mention what maybe some of the downsides are, so that you guys got that. So with the and I put cons in a quotation mark because it's just stuff that I have observed that I want to augment with other classes, more or less. So things I saw was like there's no double attack, so they do have a dual wield skill, but their melee damage is going to be really low. So that's where the ideas of, if you want a bard that does good melee damage, you can augment him with someone that does have dual wield and double attack and stuff like that. So that'd be like, for instance, a monk or a warrior or something. Their actual skills on their defensive stance, their stats like dodges and stuff like that, are not going to be as high as, for instance, a warrior or one of the tanks or a monk. So they are quote-unquote squishy, but like I said, they have evasion stances and stuff, so they surprised me with how well they can tank when needed. But this isn't going to be who you would particularly want for your main tank. You'd want to augment it if you're expecting to take a lot of hits. And on that same vein, they don't have any real strong heal skills. They have like regens, but having a healer, I feel is like the primary thing. So, you know, they may absorb a lot of damage because their skills aren't high, but if you have a good healer to offset that, I think that works out really well. The other big thing I observed was they need a lot of AAs to be able to get their additional spell slot gems and the pulses. So there's a lot of AAs necessary to get their build online that are going in to be specifically only to Bard AAs. So, you know, it's, you know, when you're putting all those points into pulsing, that might not carry over to another class combo if you don't play Bard later. So, kind of something to consider. You know, again, I don't necessarily consider this a con, but it is something to consider. Taking up a lot of spell gems was one of the things I noticed, where if you have 5 songs dedicated to a pulse and you're able to melody, twist 3 or 4 songs, your action economy is all tied up in that. So it's like you'd have to stop doing your melody. Your pulses will keep going, but your melody, you can't twist and play those songs if you want to cast like that heal, for instance. So you'd have to stop the Bard song to be able to cast your song, your healing, and then go back into your melody twisting. So and then last, I put no escape. I put that on anybody that doesn't have something like the escape ability from rogues or feign death or something. Not exactly a huge deal, but it is one of those quality of life things that I like. So basically just them in a nutshell there. So the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit would be classes I think would go really well with them. So essentially what I think about is what are they going to go good with, and the answer for Bard is pretty much everything. They're one of those slot into any combo and it's going to make that combo better because they have the ability to augment so many different things. But some of the biggest choices I liked would be something like a healer, you know, shaman, cleric, druid. That is one of the biggest things they're missing in their kit, is having a big heal, but or a source of that health sustain, like from a Shadow Knight or a Necromancer, for instance, would both be pretty good. The other thing that I thought would be really good would be something along the lines of like Paladin Monk combo with a Bard on top. That's going to give them the melee double attacks, and what I really like specifically with that is you can do your Bard songs all the time without interrupting a lot of other stuff that, like maybe a wizard or a necro, if they're nuking all the time, you don't really get to do your melody. But with like a you know, Shadow Knight monk combo or something, you are always auto attacking for the most part, and you can actually get your melodies off for a more upkeep. So, you know, something along those lines were a couple of thoughts I had to consider, but realistically, everything, having a Bard in the combo, everybody likes to have a Bard in the combo. So it's a fascinating class. I think it's a lot of fun. Definitely something I'm going to be playing in live, and I just wanted to kind of do a quick video going over all that. I'm going to be doing more videos for everybody, all the different classes. So that's kind of my plan, and I'll have them linked into a little playlist for you so that you can check this out before the game goes live on the 28th. Alrighty, well, really appreciate you sticking it out to the end on this one. If you have any questions, just hit me up in the comments. Appreciate y'all watching the video. Have a good one.